Management Research. Hello and welcome to the Management Research podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eugene Bogodistov. Hello and welcome to the next episode in my mini-series dedicated to organizational well-being or burnout prevention. And mostly the whole mini-series is built around our book with Jürgen Morman about the process management tools that can be used to prevent burnout. In our previous episodes, we started talking about the tools that can be applied to understand if there are some things that are depleting the emotional or mental energy of your employees. It means whether there are some preconditions for burnout development, whether people move towards burnout and whether you should do something or not. And in my last episode, I promised that I'm going to talk about some ideas of our students. And here we go. The first one is not from our student, it is from a colleague of mine. At the moment, she was a doctoral student and she did something very cool. Once on her door, which was on the floor where all the students and colleagues are just passing by, I saw a big sheet of paper that was cut at the end, and there were a lot of small smileys. You know, cut in these small pieces that you can tear one of them, as you did previously with announcements and the phone numbers that you just wrote there. If you want to rent a flat, please take number, call me. And she did it with the smileys. And actually, on the top, she just glued an envelope and she wrote, if you're happy, give a smile. If you're sad, take a smile. And the idea was that actually people could tear away one piece of this paper if they needed a smile, and it immediately created a kind of good mood for somebody else, because if you're sad and somebody sees you can take a smile and feel yourself better, somehow it worked. I also took once when I was not in the best mood, one of the smileys, and it kind of helped me to survive the day, so it was a very interesting thing. But next day I wanted to give her a smile, and the best way is just you tear one more of the smileys, which you can see on these cut pieces of the same sheet of paper, and you put them just in the envelope. And it was really interesting to see that at the end of the day she could collect several smileys that people put on this envelope, and it helped her actually to recover the mood after a long day of work. As a doctoral student, you probably know that you have to work a lot, and at the end of the day you may be exhausted, and then you go to your door and you see that in the envelope there are several smileys that people wanted to share with you, and it immediately increases the mood. So try it out. The next one is from a student of mine, Miss Arenberg, who applied the Herzberg theory of motivation, the two-factor theory of motivation by Herzberg. And the idea is actually that you have two groups of factors that have impact on your motivation. These are the hygiene factors. If they are not present, you will be very demotivated, but if they're present, you will not be motivated. If you want to know more about the theory, just search on my podcast, you will find there was an episode dedicated to this theory. And the second group of factors are the motivators. If you have more of them, they will motivate you, but if you don't have them, they will not demotivate you. This is the idea of Herzberg, that you have to look at these two factors. One that increases the job satisfaction, but has no impact on motivation, and the second one that increases motivation, but has no impact on the job satisfaction. And she said that we need to install in the offices the big boards with the three sectors. The first one for hygiene factors, the next one for motivators, and the third one for the private circumstances, because not everything is related to work, and maybe people just feel not so good. And based on how people feel, they needed to add the green, pins, yellow pins and red pins. Green pin means it's good and I would like to have more of it. Yellow, it's neutral. And the red is it's bad and I don't want to have it. And then they could indicate what relates to their hygiene factors, for instance, job satisfaction, clarity of supervision, and so on. They could just add some red pins and indicate that we have issues with the job satisfaction with these hygiene factors. Or you can add something to motivation and indicate that you have a lot of motivation, or maybe you lack motivation, and also some private circumstances. Maybe you're not so happy, but not because of work. The work is all good and you are glad to be here, but something happened within your family. Maybe you had issues with sleep deprivation, and it is why you had some private circumstances that had negative or positive impact. So in this simple way, with the pins and with the board, divide it into hygiene factors, motivators, and private circumstances, you can find out how people feel if you install it somewhere at the entrance and people, or at the exit, and people just take a red pin or green pin or yellow pin and put it on the board to the sector, how they feel and what actually happens there. A bit more interesting way comes from Mr. Drewes, from one of my students, and he actually developed a very good idea that I even implemented and tried out in our office. He suggested that all people, at least in Austria, will like drinking coffee. In Germans also like drinking coffee, and that is why we have the coffee machine, and we have the cups for the coffee machine. And he suggested that we need to take cups of different colors, and if there are cups of different colors, you can indicate how you feel. His idea was simple: I feel good, I feel bad, I feel neutral, and you have, let's say, the cups in a yellow, green, and red. Red for bad, green for good, and yellow for neutral. The regular system that in Europe everybody would understand. I suggested to install more cups. I suggested that we have 6 colors, and for instance, we had 2 different types of green. The green means I feel good and want to talk about it. The other green was I feel good, but I don't want to talk about it. Then we had the red, I feel bad and would like to be supported. And then we had a light red that I feel bad, but I don't like to talk about it, and so on. To install this, I put the cups in front of the coffee machine, and this had an interesting indication. So you can see how quickly the cups of different color disappear. You have a bar chart right in front of you. You can see whether the red cups are disappearing quicker, which means that actually at the office people don't feel so good and they would like to talk about it, or that the green cups are disappearing quicker. I also needed to install a small instruction sheet which explains the colors, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to understand it. And it worked actually very, very good, and people enjoyed it. Our university didn't decide to install the system in a constant manner just because I think our management doesn't really want to know how we feel so precisely. And what I found out is that the idea works good, but you have to take care about many things. For instance, we seldom use the paper cups. We try to use the glass cups, and they're expensive. I didn't buy them, but theoretically it's possible if you want to do it, not to try it out for 3 days as I did, but to use it constantly. And I think many people, including myself, are drinking espresso, which means having a big cup makes not so much sense. So not everybody drinks coffee or coffee with milk, the Americano one, the regular one. Usually, at least what I observe, people drink espresso, so I needed also to buy somewhere the small cups in different colors. I couldn't find them, but I'm pretty sure the problem is solvable. So this was one of the ideas by Mr. Drewes, updated by myself, tried it out. By the way, I think I even have a video on YouTube where I explain the idea and what are the issues, what worked well, what worked not so well. Another one was a very interesting idea. I have the book in front of me. There are many ideas. I just want to mention one more. The idea was to install boxes with chocolates. And if somebody felt good, they could take a small piece of chocolate, and they had a chocolate in different sizes. And if you felt not so good, you had to take the big size of chocolate, which gives you 2 interesting things. The first one was by idea by Matthias Planck. The first one, you find out how people feel. If you see that big pieces of chocolate are disappearing quicker, then you know that something bad is happening in the office. But what else you have is that actually chocolate makes people happier. So if somebody feels not so good and they eat a big piece of chocolate, they will start feeling better. So the idea was not only to find out, but also to intervene by making it better. The easiness of how this idea can be implemented is obvious. Buying chocolate is not expensive, and the health of your employees is much more expensive. That is why investing some money into small and big pieces of chocolate and installing it somewhere in your offices will help you. And the same idea as with the cups is like a small bar chart. You will see which pieces of chocolate are disappearing quicker, and then you will see how your office is actually feeling. So very simple, very interesting to apply, and I think your employees would enjoy if you do something like this. I cannot tell you about all the ideas because it will take longer than we usually use for our episodes. That is why I encourage you to read in our book what are the other ideas, and also think about your ideas. We wrote about only a few ideas from my students, and the students, they developed already know 3 or 4 dozens of different ideas. Very often they are very close. For instance, using something colors, something with different colors, or something with different buttons in the lift, which makes them not interesting to describe them all in detail. But sometimes you have something that is interesting to add, but we just didn't have the space and time. Like the one with the soap. He decided to install the soap containers of different colors, soap of different colors, with the same idea that if people feel not so good, they had to use the red one, and if they feel better, they have to use the green one, again with colors. But this will be a kind of fluid bar chart where you can see how the soap is disappearing in the toilet, and you will see how people feel. Many ideas regarding where to install something, from a small games like darts game where you have to throw your darts on the problems, and through the gamification come to explaining what are the issues in your organization. A lot of different ideas. So try it out, try it on your own. Try to think about how you can find out how people feel and how you can do it with some fun, with some health positive issues like eating chocolates, or maybe with some fun like playing a game, gamification. Wish you all the best, good luck, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.